Okay, so thank you to everybody that has tuned in. For those of you that are joining us for the first time here at Diversity Abroad, welcome and thank you for being here. My name is Trixie. I am the Associate Director at Diversity Abroad, and welcome everyone to today's webinar, which is Diversity Abroad Scholarships and Tips for Writing an Award-Winning Application. We're very excited that you're here, and hopefully you're tuning in because you are planning to study abroad, or you're interested in studying abroad, or you mostly just want to learn more about all of the different opportunities that we have available to you. So we're really looking forward to having you join us, and we hope that throughout today's presentation, you'll be able to uh, learn more about the different opportunities that we provide, as well as learn some writing tips about what to include when you're applying for as many different applications for scholarships that you might be interested in. As Associate Director here at Diversity Abroad, I've read quite a few scholarship applications, so I know very well what it takes to write an application that will stand out, and that can really help to guarantee that you find some financial support in order to help you pursue your dream plans of going abroad, whether it's to study, to teach, intern, or do anything else. So we have a full packed agenda today, and we're going to kick off with some basic overview about study abroad and the costs associated with it, and how you can really reframe how financially feasible this opportunity is if you just shift your thinking a little bit. So before I officially get started, I do want to cover a few housekeeping items. If this is your first time using GoToWebinar, it's not as tricky as it might seem. You can definitely raise your hand if you want to participate in any questions I'm asking. If you want to type in a question into the question box, you can do so, and I'll do my best to try to answer them either in real time if they're small questions, or at the end of this webinar, so that we can try to answer as many questions as come through as possible. This session is also being recorded. So if you have to step out, or if you missed something because you joined a little bit late, don't worry. As long as you have registered for the webinar, which you obviously have by being here, you'll get a recording of today's webinar. So you can always go back to take note of some of the different advice that we're trying to give you, some of the different key points that we're going to cover. So you'll have all of this readily available to you after we wrap up. Okay? So we're going to start with the basics. I'm sure everyone tuning in here has said this exact phrase, which is that study abroad is so expensive. And it certainly can be. So I don't want to sit here and say that it's not going to cost a lot of money, because in some cases it definitely can. But again, at the bottom line for our organization and the work that we do at Diversity Abroad is that we don't want that to be the sole reason that you don't pursue this opportunity at all, right? It is possible if we do some forward planning, if we identify scholarships and other funding opportunities as early as possible, we can definitely make it happen. So if we think about all of these, the program costs, the flights, passports and visas, the exchange rate for a US dollar to local currency, having spending money on a cell phone, of course, all of those things are going to cost us money, right? But we don't want you to think, these are expenses that you might not even incur if you were to stay at home at your own institution, right? And what I mean by that is, let's think about how much it is to be a student at your current institution. So this is a chance for you guys to interact with us a little bit here on the GoToWebinar platform. You'll certainly hear from me the most today, but this is a question to you guys. Why don't you tell me how much it is to spend a semester at your home institution? You can go ahead and write. Some of you might know down to the last cent how much a semester costs at your school. Some of you might have a general idea about how much it is for a quarter or semester. But go ahead and type in how much a semester costs to be a student at whatever school you're at right now. If anyone has any ideas, about what it might cost to be a student at your school. Hopefully, you're all aware of how much you're paying to spend a semester at your school. Some students are saying about $10,000. Okay, definitely 10,500, including tuition, meals. Right, right. Sometimes 20,000. Um, so it really kind of depends on the school that you're going to, right? If you are living in the dorms versus if you are living at home, if you're able to have your meals covered, if you're working, and hopefully that helps to help you to cover some of those costs. So when we think about tuition being anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000, I know on paper sometimes we look at that and we'd say that's crazy. How if you were your high school self and you heard someone say I pay $20,000 to be a student here, you might have thought, how are you paying for that, right? So maybe some of us have the financial means, and for others, how do we pay for that, right? We pay for it through our financial aid package. We pay for that through scholarships. We've gotten loans, some of us, many of us. We've gotten grants. We've saved up. We've worked. So there are a couple of different places where we find that funding in order to help us be students full time. And so when we think about studying abroad, and studying abroad is basically going to another country for academic credit, really reframe in your mind that you're spending about what you would spend if you were to stay at school anyway. You're just doing it in another country. And so, sure, there's additional costs, maybe like we mentioned earlier, the flight having to get to a different country or the currency exchange, depending on, if you go to Europe, it might be more expensive. Or if you go to certain parts of Asia or South America, it might be even cheaper than living at home. So start with how much you're paying as a student already, and think about what financial aid package you're receiving. So oftentimes, the financial aid package that you receive at school, a lot of that funding can travel with you to study abroad. And a lot of students don't know that. So if you're looking for where to start with how you can cover the cost to study abroad, that's always your number one place to go, is set up an appointment with your academic advisor, with your financial aid advisor, and see how much of the funding you receive to be a student can already be taken with you to study abroad. I've seen examples where the entire financial aid package you receive can come with you, which is excellent. And in other schools, sometimes it's just the federal aid and the state aid, but it's not the institutional aid. Or sometimes it's the institutional aid and nothing else. So it really depends, and that's definitely going to be a question that your school can best answer for you. So once you consider the cost of being a student, once you consider the financial aid package that you're then receiving, how do you pay for all of those extra flights, the exchange, the books, the excursions that you might want to go on when you go abroad? That's where scholarships can come in. So just like with college and higher education, we can help to cover the cost of going on a study abroad program by looking for external funding, such as scholarships. If you consider combining all of the different things that you would pay for, both to be a student and to be in another country, scholarships are a great way to cover all of those added expenses or extra expenses. And earlier I did mention, the cost of living can vary based on destination. So as outlandish as this might sound, it's true that sometimes if you study abroad, it actually can be cheaper to be in another country studying than it would be to be at your home institution. So I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I promise that if you go to an Ivy League school, or or your school is located in an urban setting where it's much more expensive and the cost of living is higher. So for example, I live in San Francisco, which is one of the most expensive cities in the country. And it's really expensive to buy your groceries and to eat out every day and to pay for your rent. If I then were to, instead of living in San Francisco for a semester, live in Phnom Penh in Cambodia, or live somewhere in Santiago, Chile, where the cost of living is way less expensive, then I'm actually saving money by studying abroad, as crazy as that might sound. So with that said, I just wanted to establish that a lot of this, and framing how we think about studying abroad and the financial feasibility of it, a lot of it does just come down to attitude, right? So really rethink about whether or not this is something you truly want to pursue. And let's think about how to make this a priority financially and within your career so that we can make it happen no matter what. And of course, the earlier you start, the better. So thankfully, you guys are all here to learn more about our scholarships for the summer and fall. And starting early means that you're definitely on the right track by being here. So if you're still also on the fence, perhaps, about studying abroad and wondering if it's something that is worth your time, if you think it's a worthy investment because you want to be an engineer at Google and you're not sure if this has anything to do with that, or maybe you just want to be a school teacher at your old high school and you're not sure studying abroad has anything to do with that. At Diversity Abroad, we recognize that having global experiences is invaluable. And I can't even tell you from my personal experience that even though I've studied abroad more than 10 years ago now, and I've also taught English abroad for 2 years, in every interview I've ever had since then, those two experiences are constantly being brought up in interviews. And it's not just because they are experiences that I've had, but because it's so rare to see international experiences on a resume that this really is something that makes your application stand out, regardless of what career that you end up pursuing after you graduate. So with that said, we're going to talk a little bit more concretely about Diversity Abroad scholarships, which is hopefully why you're all here. We have a ton of scholarships that are available, and we're very, very excited to be able to offer them to you for this coming summer and fall semesters. So we have scholarships that we offer year-round, but for today's webinar, we're going to focus on the ones that we've just opened as of February 1st of this year. So again, this is very early stages of the study abroad and the scholarship application process for you to be learning about these. So hopefully between the end of today's webinar and some of the due dates for these scholarships, you all can find one or two that are of interest to you, that you can apply for, and hopefully you will receive one of our scholarships to study abroad before the end of the year. Okay, so just to walk you through, first of all, where you can go to find these scholarships, because that would be really important to know. You can just go on our website, www.diversityabroad.com, and you go and on their top menu, there's an option right here you can see where it says Find Programs. If you click there at the very bottom, it says Scholarships, and that's how you access our scholarships portal. So from there, you can very easily decide which country you want. Maybe there's a certain subject you're interested in, or maybe there's a specific term like the summer or the fall semester that you would want to go on. You click search, and then that will generate a full list of scholarships on our website. Not just scholarships that we offer exclusively through Diversity Abroad, but other scholarships that are offered through other programs, that are offered through other providers, institutions. It's a full directory of scholarships beyond just what we offer at Diversity Abroad. So that's available to you. Another way you can find scholarships on our website is if you join our website, diversityabroad.com, which is absolutely free. And we hope that all of you join by the end of today's call if you aren't members already, so you can gain full access to all of our scholarships as members. But once you join and you go into your profile, you have access to what we call the Match Me tool. So the Match Me tool is essentially like the scholarships portal in that you can see the full list of scholarships that are available on our website. But the added benefit of the Match Me tool is that you can specify what you're looking for, what semester. You can also get matched not just to scholarships, but to opportunities based on where you want to go, based on the kind of housing situation you're looking for. We really try to create a tool that would find really the best match for you. So hopefully you can use that Match Me tool to help you find what maybe works best given your country of interest, the field of study, or the term that maybe works best for you. Once you click on a scholarship that you're interested in, you'll be taken to a page that looks like this. So it'll have the program overview, it'll have some of the basic information on the right-hand side. And don't worry about this, by the way, I'll go through each of these scholarships slowly, slide by slide in the next few minutes. So you'll get the full idea of all of the different details available for each scholarship. But at the top of every scholarship is going to be these two buttons. And you'll want to click on the orange Visit Website button to access the application itself. So when you click on that, you'll actually get redirected to a different website where you can then click Apply Now to start the application itself. So the application is accessible via our website, but it's on a platform that looks like this. So don't be confused if you find that you're being open, your window is or your browser is opening up a new window to get to this website. This is exactly where you want to be, and this is exactly how you access the application to all of our different scholarships. To clarify, this screen, there's one basically for every single scholarship. So just because you're on this page doesn't mean that you can find every single diversity abroad scholarship. Every single website button is directly linked to the application according to that scholarship type. So just to be clear, every single link is going to be different. This isn't just one link to one external website, and then once you're here, you can go and click through all of the scholarships. It's much easier to click on the orange website for the specific scholarship that you're interested in. So in this case, it's the Diversity Abroad Overseas Ambassador Scholarship, and that links you directly to where it says here, the Overseas Ambassador Scholarship application. Okay? So with that said, let's do a quick review of all of the different scholarships that we have for summer and fall 2017. Before I jump into that, Alex has asked, are there scholarships for academic year fall 2017, spring 2018? We don't have full year scholarships, actually. We do them by semester at a time. So Alex, if you wanted to do one for the fall 2017, we would be able to support you through that first semester, but not necessarily for the full academic year. So right now our scholarships are only available for semesters at a time. Okay? So with that, here's a quick look at our scholarships for summer and fall. To clarify, Diversity Abroad is an information sharing organization, and so we don't directly run programs ourselves. So a lot of the times we get questions about Diversity Abroad scholarships being for Diversity Abroad only, and that's not necessarily the case because we don't do programs in any other countries. We just provide scholarships that you can either use for a specific program, which we'll specify in a little bit, or that you can use for whatever program you want to go on. So if you already have a program in mind at your school and you're looking for external funding, this is a great place to look for that. Or if you already know you want to go on a specific partner program that we have, for example, we have some scholarships for the fall with Semester at Sea or with AIFS, and you know you want to go on those programs, these are additional scholarships that you can apply for through us to go on their programs. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay? So we're going to go through one by one through each of them so that you have some familiarity with what each scholarship requires and some of the minimum requirements in terms of applicants that we're looking for. Okay. Gabriella asked a question. I can't apply for fall 2018 right now. It has to be when it's closer. The answer, Gabrielle, yes. So we open our applications essentially one semester ahead of when that application cycle starts. So if you're interested in applying for fall 2018, that application wouldn't open until spring 2017 at the earliest. So right now we're focused through the end of 2017. And then after that, come this fall, we'll have scholarships open for spring 2018. Hopefully that makes sense as well. Okay. So the first scholarship I'm going to feature is our Diversity Abroad Network Summer Scholarship. Diversity Abroad Network is a professional consortium of member institutions. So essentially, some schools have a membership with the Diversity Network, and only students attending those institutions will have access to this scholarship. So there's a link here that says Diversity Network .members. Let me not spell this, say it out loud. I can just type it to you guys right here. diversitynetwork.org/page/members. If you click on this link and you see your school is listed on that website, then you are eligible for the scholarship. So we have 5 $1,000 scholarships. You just have to spend a minimum of 4 weeks abroad to qualify. And you have to submit a photo of yourself, a 2-minute video application, and an acceptance letter. And so when we say acceptance letter in this case, what we mean is we want to see that you've already been accepted into your program in order to then award you the scholarship. That makes sense. And most of the applications that we have some kind of feature like this, whereas we want to make sure that you've already submitted your application for the regular program so that we know that you have the intention of going on that program, if not have already been accepted to that program. So applications for this scholarship are due on April 7th. There's a question that Skylar asked, are there example videos that we can see? There are a ton, actually. If you just go on YouTube, a couple of students submitted their videos via YouTube and they're made public. So if you wanted to see a couple of examples, you can. They range in quality, in style, and so we're not really looking for, a Michael Bay production, fancy, high-tech videos that stand out. It really is the content and what you're saying. And within the application itself, there are questions that we prompt you with to answer within the video. And later at the end of this call, or at the end of this webinar, one of our scholarship winners, Austin Ogletree, who won the Overseas Ambassadors Scholarship, he'll actually be joining us to tell you a little bit about his experience and maybe tell you a little bit about how he framed the video that he shot that essentially earned him one of our scholarships. Okay. So again, this is the Network Summer Scholarship. Applications are due April 7th. Okay. The next summer scholarship we have, and these are the only 2 summer scholarships we have available directly through Diversity Abroad, is the Diversity Abroad Israel Scholarship. So this is a scholarship that is new for this year. We're very excited to have partnered with Hebrew University of Jerusalem, where they have 10 summer scholarships for $5,000 each. So if you have ever been interested in studying in Israel or are interested in learning more about the Middle East or going to the Middle East, we encourage you to apply. For that, we have, excuse me, we ask for your DA.com username, a copy of your acceptance letter, and 2 short essay questions. The applications for that are not due until June 15th, so you have plenty of time to submit an application if you're interested in learning more about the Israel Scholarship. To avoid confusion, there are 2 Israel scholarships, one for summer and one for the semester, the fall semester specifically, open right now. Excuse me. So just be mindful that you're clicking on the right link to make sure that you're accessing the correct application. The applications themselves are asking the same question, so just make sure you're applying to the right semester so you know exactly which award amount it is that you are hoping to receive. Okay? Next, we're going to go over all of our fall scholarships available next. So the first fall scholarship that will be due this year, and it's the first application due for a fall program that we have, is with the China Institute. So the China Institute is an incredible program that is offered through the University of Dayton, which is in Ohio. We have for that nine scholarships for fall 2017. Each scholarship is worth $20,000, which is a lot, right? That covers the majority of the program costs. So this isn't a fully covered scholarship, but that said, we'll be going over at the end of this webinar some other tips and other scholarships that you can look for in order to help, again, fill the gap with scholarships, right? So not only do you get a $20,000 scholarship for the fall semester through China Institute, but you also get additional staff support from us. You get a registration to our annual student conference called the Global Student Leadership Summit. And for that, we just ask for 3 short essay questions within the application. So again, this application is coming up first. It's due on March 31st. One of the other perks of the China Institute program is all the classes are taught in English. It's in a park, Suzhou Park, I believe, which has really close access to a lot of sort of like Western American amenities. So it's sort of like being abroad, but also having access to some familiar Western amenities, which is really nice. And it's not too far from places like Shanghai. So if you've ever been interested in studying abroad in China or in Asia, period, I think this is a really excellent opportunity. And it's also, being that it's offered through the University of Dayton, Ohio, it's actually easy to get your credits transferred because it's an American institution. So you're really getting credits from a school in the United States and not necessarily a school in China. So if you have more questions about that, I'm happy to connect you with China Institute staff, and we can definitely get some of those questions answered if you have them. The next scholarship that we have available for the fall is with Semester at Sea. Many people are already familiar with Semester at Sea, but if you are not, that's totally okay. Semester at Sea is a ship that travels to about 10 plus countries, I would say, for the semester. No two courses, I think, are ever alike. So if you're a bit indecisive about where you'd want to study abroad, or you're not sure, you can't settle on just one place, Semester at Sea is a great alternative. Not every school works with Semester at Sea, so just make sure this is a program that your school will allow you to go on for study abroad. And for that, we have 4 scholarships for $5,000 plus flights. So what that means is that the ship typically docks and leaves every semester from San Diego, California. So if you're nowhere near San Diego, not only does this scholarship give you $5,000 towards your tuition, it also will pay for your ticket to fly out to the ship. So hopefully that's something that might appeal to you. For that, we ask for a list of achievements, your leadership positions, your student aid report, a personal statement, and 1 essay. And applications for that are due on April 15th. Next up, we have our AIFS Achievement Scholarship. This is for opportunities through the AIFS Abroad provider. If you haven't heard of them, or maybe you have, they have programs all over the world, really. So you can just check out their website to see maybe what program you're most interested in. For that, we have 2 scholarships for $5,000 each. All you need to do is submit a list of your achievements awards, leadership positions, and then write an essay. I think it's about 1,000 words limit. And that one is also due on April 15th. And for this scholarship as well, students will be able to write articles and be a content contributor for diversityabroad.com. So we have articles on our website that students can write or read. Well, you can read them at any time, but if you're a scholarship winner, oftentimes you'll be able to write and be a featured writer. So if that's ever something that you were hoping to gain experience in, this is another great opportunity that you can do that through. The Diversity Abroad University of Auckland Scholarship. So the University of Auckland is located in New Zealand, and this is one of our newest partnerships as well. We're very excited that through them we have 2 scholarships available to study abroad in the fall for 12,750 New Zealand dollars, which roughly computes to about 9,300 US. This is a great opportunity for any students that are interested in going to New Zealand. All we ask is for your acceptance letter, your DI username, and 2 short essay questions. So that application is due on May 15th. Again, this is a great opportunity offered through the University of Auckland. So definitely check that out if that's something that you are interested in, or maybe that's a place that you've always been interested in going to. Okay. Next, we have our overseas ambassadors. So as I mentioned earlier, Austin Ogletree will be joining us in a little bit, and he was one of our overseas ambassadors for last fall. This is a great scholarship. So we have 5 for $500. What you get from us is what we call a swag bag. So it comes with all kinds of Diversity Abroad goodies, a backpack, t-shirt, journal, water bottle, all kinds of stuff. And this is a perfect scholarship for students that are really interested in sharing their experience as an ambassador for Diversity Abroad. So our organization is committed to seeing more students of diverse backgrounds pursue global opportunities. So if you feel like you would really just make a great ambassador, not just because you are a student who traditionally maybe is of an ethnic minority background, but maybe you're a STEM major, or maybe you're a student athlete, maybe you're a male. Male students are severely underrepresented in study abroad. So diversity is really defined in multiple ways. And we really just want to showcase that students from all different backgrounds, all different identities, all different fields of study can go and study abroad, no matter how they identify. And this is a really, really great example of doing that. So this is similar to the network scholarship. It's a 2-minute video application. So again, I encourage you to check out some video examples on YouTube. There are a lot of people that have their videos still up from when they applied. So you can definitely check those out just to see, again, the breadth of how videos really vary from quality and style. They're all only meant to be 2 minutes as well, so I just want to emphasize that, because we wouldn't want you to spend any more time than that submitting a video that was longer. And those applications are due June 1st. For the last scholarship that we have for the fall is, again, as I mentioned earlier, the Israel Scholarship. For that, we have 5 $7,500 scholarships to study in Israel. And similar to the summer scholarship, we ask for 2 short essay questions in addition to a copy of your acceptance letter and your DA username. And those applications are due June 15th. So it looks like we had a couple of questions. It looks like somebody asked, how competitive is a semester at Sea Scholarship? It can be fairly competitive. I would say we receive anywhere from 30 to 50 applications, and we're only choosing 4 students. So just keep that in mind. Again, we're about to go over the tips so you can kind of see what it takes to make your application stand out. That's a good question, Marquez. And then Star asked, how many people normally apply for this scholarship? Is it competitive? Star, you might want to specify which scholarship. If you mean the Overseas Ambassadors, that one can be competitive. We get a lot of students that apply for that one. Maybe 30 to 50 students on average. But that shouldn't deter you from still wanting to submit an application. So here's a copy of an overview of everything that I just mentioned. This is actually attached as a handout, so you guys should be able to see within the GoToWebinar control panel. There's 2 versions because for some reason the PDF came out really blurry, and I apologize for that. So I took a screenshot and it was totally fine. So there's 2 versions of that. Hopefully one of those is clear for you. And I apologize for the blurriness of the PDF if that's also something that you're seeing on your end. But you have access to this so that you can check that out at your earliest convenience. And the other thing I wanted to share with you guys in the chat box is this link. So if you go here, the link that I just shared, that's where you can see every single Diversity Abroad scholarship that I just mentioned. So from there, you'll be able to access all of the applications. You can submit one to the ones that you're most interested in, and hopefully we see some of you guys submitting applications for at least some of this money that we have. We're very eager to give it away. We want to give it away. We can only give it away to students that apply. So definitely submit an application. Okay? So, of course, we aren't the end-all be-all of scholarships. There are a ton that are out there. Here are just a few more I want to mention. The Gilman Scholarship, which is for students that get the Pell Grant. If you're not sure if you get the Pell Grant, check your financial aid offer letter or talk to your financial aid office. You may be eligible for that. The Critical Language Scholarship is for students that are studying in specific locations to learn what the State Department considers a critical language. So something like Arabic or Turkish or Azerbaijani or Urdu. There's a full list. If you just Google Critical Language Scholarship, that will definitely come up. And that is a fully paid for scholarship in certain countries around the world. There's the Fund for Education Abroad, the Boren Scholarship. You can go to your academic department. You can check for scholarships that are not just for study abroad, but for academics. Check your student orgs. You can check community organizations. So even the people, at your church, or if you were in the troops growing up, or if you played sports, there are so many different places to access support. And that kind of leads me to one of our later points, which will be, we'll talk a little bit about crowdsourcing and fundraising at the end. But let's just get really quickly into what it takes to write an award-winning application. Some of the students that submit applications, whether they're written or the video applications, it really takes a lot to make sure that what you're writing stands out. So these are just some of our insider tips that we hope will guarantee your essays are looked at a little bit closely, because you've taken some extra time to consider what you're writing and the message that you're sending. So the first thing that we recommend always is to review the purpose, right? What is this scholarship called? Who's offering it, right? Considering us at Diversity Abroad and what our work is. And be really mindful that you're not writing the same essay for every single scholarship. And even if the question might seem similar, be specific, right? Tell your story. We want to know more about you and why you're perfect for this scholarship. We can tell very easily within the first 2 minutes if you're telling us a very generic story, or if you're telling us an answer that we don't think you're writing specifically to us. So as a scholarship reader, we want to know, why should we give you this money? And so you really want to keep that in mind no matter what essay you're writing or what question you're answering, right? Connect this back to your goals. So again, you might not see that there's a linear relationship between going on your study abroad experience to Italy and going on to medical school to be a pediatrician. So make that connection for us, right? How are those two connected, and what kind of transferable skills do you think you'll gain and that you can only gain by going abroad, by having access to funding through us that will enhance your professional career as a future pediatrician? So really make those goals for us so that we can see that you've been thoughtful about why this experience is so meaningful for you and how this scholarship can help you achieve that goal. Know your audience, right? So again, at Diversity, supporting students that are underrepresented, students that don't typically have access to these kinds of opportunities. So really think about that when you are applying to one of our scholarships, right? Discuss program specifics. Again, we can tell very quickly if you're not writing to us about your specific program or specific scholarship. Let us know that you are doing at least the minimal effort of writing specifically about this scholarship and about our organization and about the program that you're interested in. Avoid cliches and talking about travel. So within the study abroad and international education field, travel isn't necessarily a bad word, but it gives off the air of vacation and just going, for fun. And that's not to say that study abroad isn't fun. You'll have the most fun you'll ever have in your life, actually. But we want to know that we're helping to support your academic and professional and personal goals by giving you financial support. So versus giving you financial support for a vacation or for a trip, right? So just be mindful of the language that you're using and how you're communicating the whole intention behind studying abroad. And then, of course, give thanks. It's a very small thing you can do, but I think even saying thank you for the opportunity is something that is actually really rare in an application and is quite memorable to application readers. So with that, when it comes to writing any kind of application essay, you definitely don't want to be the person that starts it the day before it's due. Not just because, I don't know, for me, that just increases my anxiety to think that I would start something the day that it's due or the day before it's due. But you want to be smart about having it edited, and having people that you trust read through it and see that it's the best essay you could possibly write for that scholarship. And I know especially if you are already a student that has to write a lot of school papers, or maybe you are a science major or a math major and you're not used to writing long papers, work with staff at your school, writing center, mentors, to get the best essay out that you can. So edit, plan ahead, and be flexible with yourself and with the schedules of people around you. Sometimes applications also require letters of recommendation, and it's really not appropriate to ask for a letter of recommendation the day before it's due, right? So be courteous to other people that might be part of helping you secure funding, and consider how flexible you might need to be in order to make this something that can be completed in the appropriate time frame. Like I said, utilize campus resources. If you have a writing center, maybe you have a mentor, maybe you know somebody who got that scholarship in the past, try to access support from those people and see if they can help you to communicate effectively the answer that you have to the question that is being posed. When we talk about creating a budget and reuse and paying it forward, there's a little bit more to do with once you get the scholarship and you secure that funding. Creating a budget obviously is how you can make that money sort of last once you're in country. We certainly wouldn't want you to just kind of blow it all in one go and then you're really stuck financially. And then paying it forward, of course, has to do with finding ways to give back. So again, the way that you might go to somebody who received an award previously for help, you can then be that same mentor to somebody who is applying for this award in the future. And I skipped first and last specifically because what that point is we really want you to consider the first and last impression that you're leaving on the reader. A strong opening sentence really catches our eye and really gets us hooked. And then if you can close it out and summarize succinctly what it is that you're expressing, that will leave a very impressionable memory, be very impressionable on us as readers. So we highly encourage you above, including all of these different things that we're recommending, to consider how you can make a great first and last impression when you're writing your essays. Marquez asked, do you prefer essays written in first or third person? You could write in first person. That's totally acceptable. You're writing based on your experience. So again, look at the thing with editing as well as helping to make sure that you are keeping things in the constant tense, whether it's all past tense or present tense as well. Just make sure that it's consistent throughout the entire essay. Okay? So now that we've talked about starting with your financial aid package, filling the gap with scholarships, let's say there's still funding you have to be accountable for. There's always crowdfunding, which is fundraising, right? So you can always set up a page like a GoFundMe or a Fund My Travel where you can build a page and tell your story. Again, studying abroad is rare. Less than 2% of Americans students study abroad. And yes, you heard that right, 2%, right? So it's a unique opportunity that not every college student even aspires to accomplish. And you're here because you're listening because that's something you want to achieve. And that's extremely, extremely rare, and it's something to be proud of. So when you're looking for ways to find funding and support, absolutely don't be embarrassed by the fact that you are looking for community support from, again, people at church, people, family and cousins, co-workers. If you ever were playing sports growing up, I was a Girl Scout when I was growing up, right? What kind of communities do you have? What kind of friends do you have available to you that would, every little bit helps, right? That would support you along your journey. So when we say tell your story and make it something that, anybody would want to try to support you to accomplish this goal. And with things like social media, it's, on Facebook, it's very easy to share a link and make it easy for people, even people maybe you wouldn't expect to support you, to just click a link and send a couple of dollars your way. Make sure to tell them who you are, what you're hoping to accomplish when you go abroad, and why this is so important to you. And, if you have something like a blog or a journal, you can help to tell your story, and it keeps people connected to the fact that they really did give you some financial support to help you accomplish this. And it's exciting for me, at least. I know when I've donated to friends who have tried to study abroad or volunteered abroad, to see then the kinds of great things that they're keeping up with in that local community is really exciting. And I feel very proud of my friends to see that I helped them to achieve that. You can also consider doing donation levels, right? So maybe you say anywhere from $10 and I'll give you a shout out on social media, or you donate $50, I'll make sure to bring you back like a local art piece, something like that to make it fun and creative, obviously within your means, That's another interesting way just to make it a little bit different. And like we said, give something in return. Send photos, postcards, give presentations to your peers to encourage other people to do this as well. So there's a link here, and I'll share this with you guys so that you can see it. But you can check out this example of a GoFundMe page, so you can see what it might look like if you're interested in replicating something just like this. So, with all that said, I realize you've heard a lot of my voice, and hopefully this has all been very helpful and informative. But I also want you to hear from other people, and specifically one of our overseas ambassadors, Austin Ogletree, who I mentioned. So I'll make sure to give him the mic so he can speak a little bit about his experience. Oh, I forgot about this slide really quick. Some more fundraising advice. Again, don't be afraid to ask for money, and think creatively. You could do a car wash. You could do a bake sale. You could do, go to Chipotle and see if they're willing to give back 15% of burritos or burrito bowls, but between 5 and 8 p.m. I don't know. But any amount that you receive can help. So just keep a positive attitude about it. So with that said, I'd like to invite Austin to speak, to tell you all a little bit more about his experience. Hopefully, he can tell you a little bit about all the different experiences he's had, and the different ways that he's been able to secure funding to get all of his scholarships towards the different ways that he's been able to study abroad. Hi, Austin.
Hey Trixie, thanks so much for the introduction.
Yeah, of course. So we have a
Well,
few
first,
minutes. So I just want to give you, sorry to interrupt. We have a few minutes, and we want to leave maybe like a couple minutes at the end for questions. So maybe as you're speaking, those of you that are listening can type your questions, and then I'll make sure to ask Austin any questions that you have when he's finished. Austin, take it away.
yeah, thanks Trixie. And first of all, I want to just thank everyone that's on the call because I think it says a lot about you and your planning. If you're on the call right now so early to kind of get involved and seek funding for your opportunity abroad. Well, just to give another introduction, my name is Austin. I'm a graduating senior at North Carolina A&T, located in Greensboro, North Carolina. There I'm studying industrial and systems engineering. And this past fall, I served as an overseas ambassador while I studied abroad in Bangkok, Thailand. I went through an ISEP program that was with my school, which made it very, very easy to transfer my courses and my classwork back. So the first thing that I like to tell people when they do study abroad is to go straight to their abroad office or their financial advisor, or even their academic advisor to kind of see what options are already available inside of the school, because those options are going to be the one that allow you to apply most of your funding that you're already receiving to that specific program. So studying abroad for me, so since I'm an out-of-state student, studying abroad was actually cheaper than a tuition of going to my school out of state by $5,000. So if technically or virtually, I received almost a $5,000 scholarship just to make the decision in studying abroad. And since I was going to Southeast Asia, the cost of living was much cheaper as well. My rent was only about $250 each month, and I received a stipend for $500 for food and rent each month. And then you're looking at meals that are about $2 to $4 each time, and this is specifically for Thailand. So in terms of cost, I definitely think I beat the odds in terms of studying abroad being an expense. And I think that that was something that really turned me on to wanting to study abroad, and especially to kind of promote why I think study abroad is important. So just by studying abroad at my school has a policy that if you choose to study abroad, that they automatically give you a travel grant. So I received that funding that I was able to apply, all of the federal and state aid that I currently received. I also received the Diversity Abroad Scholarship for Overseas Ambassador, and 2 engineering scholarships that I was currently receiving that also were able to be applied to my time abroad in Thailand. So in terms of funding and seeking scholarships, I definitely took advantage of it, and worked really hard with the people at Diversity Abroad to get through the application process. And then once I was accepted as an ambassador, to actually communicate with diversity abroad throughout the program, and to submit my monthly articles and pictures as well. So it was a great experience, and I was able to find funding.
Excellent.
So if we move on to the next slide, there we go. I wanted to talk a few things about what I actually gained by studying abroad. If you could see on the slide before last semester, I had studied abroad briefly for no more than 3 weeks each time in China, and in Costa Rica, my senior year in high school. And those experiences really did kind of prepare me to say, hey, I think I might actually, want to study abroad for a longer period of time and actually live in the country and go to school and take courses and interact with the locals. And I'm really glad that I made this decision, because by studying abroad, I do believe that I gained friends from all across the globe. In my cohort of exchange students, so the international students that came into my school, which was the largest university in Thailand, had about 100 students. And of those 100 students, people were from Japan, Finland, Germany, the UK, and believe it or not, only 4 of the students were from the United States. So if you can just imagine the diversity that was just among the international cohort, not even mixing in the native Thai students that we interacted with on a daily basis, I was able to meet people and learn different perspectives from all across the world. And while you're studying abroad, when you're actually there, you really have the time to have these indescribable experiences in places that you couldn't have even dreamed. I can remember one night where all of our friends, we were just hanging out, and we just walked to the rooftop of this of our apartment complex, and we got on the roof and we kind of watched the sunrise, and we kind of had a moment where we're just like, oh my God, we really are in a different country with people. We just met each other, and we're about to take the world by storm, but right now we're on top of this roof in Thailand, and it just looks so amazing. So those type of experiences that you couldn't really have if you were in the comfort of your home are the types of experiences that I really, really value from my time abroad. The third point that I kind of want to say that I gained from studying abroad is cross-cultural competencies. And this is really just the ability to kind of understand that cultures are different and to respect those opinions, kind of as they're introduced to you as well. One of the first things one of the main conversations that kind of was taking place while I was abroad, and anytime someone found out that I was from the U.S., was something concerning the presidential election, because that was the time that I was there. So anytime they found out, they always wanted to talk about it, and I'd be surprised at typically how much they knew about our political system, our government, and how thought out they had for suggestions. And it was just really, really interesting to kind of get that influx, and it wanted me to understand more about the cultures that I was exposed to. So for instance, while I was abroad in Thailand, the longest reigning monarch in the world, which was the King of Thailand, actually passed away. So that was a big deal, because he had been the king for 70 years and he's well respected, and there are laws saying that you can't speak of him in public, or you can spend 15 years in a Thai prison. So just to kind of understand how much respect they had for kind of like their government officials, and then to kind of talk about the contrast or the conflict that we had kind of in the U.S. was really a good experience for me to be able to see different sides of stories and to gain different perspectives. And then the last bullet that I kind of want to touch on is, by studying abroad, it really, ignited in me a desire or a passion to learn more about things that I don't know, and to get, I realized that by being uncomfortable for an entire semester, that I grew so much as a person. I learned so much about myself and others and other countries. And it just really, really was a great experience for me. And now, because I am back, I miss it so much. And I think about, while I was there, I was able to travel to so many different Asian or Southeast Asian countries, like Malaysia and Vietnam and Tokyo, Cambodia, Laos. Like, the countries are right next to each other, and you're just able to travel throughout for super cheap with so many different friends. And now that I'm back in school, all I want to do is every weekend is travel somewhere else, but I can't afford it. So study abroad while you're in school, because that's when you'll have that time. That's the only time in your life that you'll really have the opportunity to go across the country and not have to worry about working a job. And you can just be a student, that in-between phase of adult and kind of like a child. But you get to just kind of live and explore and grow in a different country. And then I think I have one more slide.
Yep.
And just to kind of think, how studying abroad can benefit you before or after you return. I just kind of wanted to tell you just a little bit about myself to know, that I like to see myself as very involved when I was in school, and I was actually, a STEM major, so I'm taking really extensive physics and math courses and thermodynamics and so many other courses that are just blowing my mind, but I still wanted that opportunity to take those classes abroad. So, on campus, I was actually the student body president of the Student Government Association. So, by having this position, I knew that there were others on campus that not necessarily looked up to me, but I definitely was always in their face, whether on campus in a program. And by being in this role, I was a leader on campus. So, by me taking the opportunity to study abroad at my university, which happens to be the largest historically black college in the nation, it really was a big deal because I try to, really see myself as like a normal student and not someone that's super, into the books or super into social. I try to find that balance. So I think that a lot of students in me that like saw in me, that themselves and that they too could study abroad because since I've returned, I mean, every week, every day, there's someone that comes up to me and says, "Hey, I'm going to study abroad because it looks so fun. I loved watching your page." So if you are a leader on your campus or in some organization, if you choose to study abroad, you'd be surprised at how many people you actually inspire. And it also worked out very well because when I applied to be a White House ambassador for historically black colleges and universities, my mission that I promoted was international education and how we needed to increase the number of minority students that studied abroad because they are ultimately painting the picture of America. And if only one type of person is studying abroad of a country that is supposed to represent, a melting pot, I thought that was, there was some type of disconnect. So I was really able to bring that experience out in my application with the diversity overseas ambassadors position, and I think that in terms of my story, it really was I guess a flagship in terms of what I built my story upon in my application and in my video for the OA position. So also another thing or myth that people have when they're studying abroad is that, well, I studied abroad as a senior, so I graduated in May. So last fall, I was out of the country during a very high recruiting season. So this is when students are trying to find jobs, they're trying to get their plans together after graduation, and I decided to leave the country. Like, how crazy was I? But so when I got there in Thailand, that's when I kind of realized, like, oh snap, like I'm not really going to be able to go to career fairs or interview in person or anything like that. So how am I going to find a job? But because of the technology that we're using right now through Skype and telephones and internet, I was able to network and have several job interviews and receive several job offers. So after graduation, I'll be moving to Los Angeles to work for Microsoft. And I received that offer before I even returned to the States. So if there's a myth that you think that you can't get jobs, there's LinkedIn. You need to do the networking before you leave, set the groundwork before you leave so that while you're away, you can really just focus on your experience and then being your authentic self while you're interviewing and networking electronically. And then lastly, kind of like towards the future, I was really inspired, by someone at my university that studied abroad, and that's kind of what wanted me to get involved more and inspire other people. So she founded her own organization called HBCU Travelers, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that's mission is to increase the number of specifically HBCU students that study abroad and to also connect them with other organizations in the future. And because of the connection that I've made with Trixie and the other people at Diversity Abroad, I look forward to kind of building the relationship between our nonprofit HBCU Travelers and Diversity Abroad as well. All a connection and a relationship that was built by studying abroad. So at this time, if there's any questions, I think I kind of maybe went over the mark a bit, Trixie.
That's okay.
But if there's any questions, I'd love to open the floor. I can take some, and you may have some for Trixie as well.
Thank you so much, Austin. Yeah, we're very excited that you were able to be a part of our overseas ambassadors. To the students that are tuning in, I know we are going a little bit over our 3 o'clock Eastern closing time, but feel free to check out the resources in the handout section. Feel free to type in any remaining questions you might have. I'm happy to connect you to Austin if you wanted to email me directly. Here's my email address. Any questions that you have for us, we'll spend a few minutes just to see if anything comes through. And then if not, we'll try to wrap it up in the next minute or two. Again, this whole webinar is recorded, and so we've given you a couple of links through the chat if you haven't seen those. But we'll make sure to share this recording with you so that you can have access to everything that you listen to. So if you need to go back and listen again to some of the advice that Austin shared, or some of the scholarship specifics that I mentioned earlier, you can definitely go back and check those out. But it doesn't seem like we have any questions coming through. So I just want to say thank you so much to everybody that tuned in. I apologize that we went a little over time, but I think Austin's input was really invaluable. So thank you, Austin, for speaking so vividly about your experience. Again, Austin mentioned everything that we love about diversity abroad, which is that, you know, he went abroad as a senior and he went as an engineering major, and he was able to get funding from multiple sources. And it's a real great example. And so thank you, Austin, for sharing your insight and experience with us.
Sure.
Absolutely. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll make sure to send this recording your way in a little bit. So if you have any questions, there's my email address. And we hope to see you again for one of our webinars next month. Thank you.